Good afternoon, members of the press and public. This is Nakuru Law Society of Kenya chapter. On behalf of the chapter, this is Tanga Jordan, serving as the vice chairperson in the wake of the recent disappearance of one Brian Odhiambo, touching on the KWS officers and the recent judgment from the High Court here at Nakuru. We wish to issue a presser which covers all the members of the stakeholders of Nakuru, the Rift Valley Society chapter, on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya and all members of the public. You are welcome. At this particular moment, then allow me to welcome the chairperson serving as the Nakuru chapter LSK. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the press. Good afternoon, members of the public. And good afternoon to my colleagues. My name is Wangari Mwangi. I serve as the Law Society of Kenya chairperson, Nakuru. And we thought it wise to call this presser to address on the issue of Brian Odhiambo, who has not been found until now. We are also privy to the ruling that was issued by the High Court judge. And our question is, as the Law Society of Kenya, if we cannot get solutions to our problems before the court, then where do we go from here? And we know that Brian not being found at this moment is causing a lot of agony. We can only empathize with the family on how they feel about this situation. We wish to recognize that we stand in solidarity with the family of Brian. We stand in solidarity with his friends, his wife, and we wish to condemn in the strongest manner possible that if at all Brian has been abducted, abductions do not have a place in our current society. And we wish to implore that Brian is produced, whether he's alive or dead. And we also wish to recognize that as the Law Society of Kenya, we wish to uphold the rule of law. We recognize that our constitution protects the rights of citizens. And if we cannot have that protect us, then the only question is, where are we safe? To whom do we run to? On that note, I wish to welcome a former chair, Mr. Mungeri. He's here on behalf of all former chairs who have served Nakuru Law Society. I know he has a few things to say.
Chair, before you give it to the former chair, what are some of the issues that were raised in the judgment that you find had a problem with?
On that, allow me to correct you. Not that I had a problem with, I just recognize that they are not in tandem with the petition that was filed. Anyone who was following that petition knows that we, members of the public and the family of Brian, instructed advocates and IMLU to have Brian produced. That is the habeas corpus application, whether he's alive or dead. And even at the cross-examination of the KWS and the DCI, we recognized that that was not captured in the ruling. The KWS recognized that they were with Brian, but that has not been addressed. So that is one of the issues that brings us together as a society, that we are fighting for Brian. Wherever he is, his family needs to know that we stand with them.
Are you planning to take a legal action, let's say to be appealed or something?
I am aware that there are several meetings to be held. Allow me not to say where the meetings or who is holding the meetings, but the outcome of those meetings will allow us to know whether we are going to follow that case up as the Law Society of Kenya, as the petitioners. I also know that our colleagues who have been acting for Brian since the onset of that petition are here with us. They are going to tell us what the position of the family is, because we have to respect their wishes in as much as we wish to take it up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Habari zenu. Now, as our chair said, my name is David Mungeri, and a practitioner here in Nakuru. As our chairs put it, it is saddening to find that young men such as Brian can just disappear while in the custody of law enforcers. And as the chair has also put it, the same law enforcers have already conceded that at some point in time they were with this young man. And that's That's why we're shocked at the decision that was made by the judge. That I know the lawyers who are in court are getting instructions on how to deal with it. But let's say this, that the case of Brian should not just end at the ruling delivered by the judge. It should be all of us who must work hard to ensure that the family also gets justice. And justice can only be found in these courts. And it is high time the judiciary woke up and know that it is Brian today, but it is their kin tomorrow. It cannot be life as usual. That a young man who had life the other day, we are not saying that he's dead, but we are saying that he should be produced, whether he is dead or alive, such that the family can have closure. Now, I think they have doubled our efforts as the Law Society, as our officials have said, and we come in and see how we can assist the family to see how we can have him produced, and whether alive or dead. Otherwise, I think because these are matters pending in court, maybe there might be an appeal or something. We don't want to say so much because of the law that prohibits us from commenting on things that are pending in court. Otherwise, the legal team is there. Thank you, Chair, for pushing that agenda. Thank you, our branch Chair, for also putting in your efforts. We will come in and assist and see that the family gets justice. Because this trend continuing, and we are headed to 2027, it is not a good thing. So it must be nipped in the bud, and the judiciary should wake up and do that, and honor their obligation as the Constitution provides, and protect innocent Kenyans from harassment by these overzealous officers.
Good afternoon, members of the press and Kenyans. On behalf of the Law Society of Kenya, I also wish to make our statement. My name is Aston Muchela, the chairperson of Law Society of Kenya, Rift Valley branch. With regards to this issue of Brian Odhiambo, as a society, we are quite appalled. And indeed, we have a message to our judiciary. The judiciary should know that they are really the last line of defense. When Kenyans wake up, they desire and hope that they will be getting justice in our courts. Now, a family does not know the whereabouts of their loved one. Someone has disappeared. The judge who handled that case rightfully questioned in the judgment that how can someone, it's mind-boggling that someone can just disappear from the national park at Nakuru and he cannot be traced. Yet the same judge goes ahead and say, there being no evidence that this person is being held by the authorities, then he will leave the matter to rest. Where else does he expect this family to get justice? Now remember, the KWS officials confirmed that they had arrested 11 people who are trespassing at the park. Out of the 11, they took 10 to answer questions, the charges of trespass. Now one was not accounted for. According to them, they say that one had gone to answer a call of nature, and then he disappeared. Remember, at the point of arrest, when they were arrested, these people were in the custody of KWS officials. Custody does not begin when you are taken to the cells at the police station. Custody begins the moment this officer arrests you and says you are now under arrest. The fact that he had already been arrested, he was under the custody of KWS, and it behoves them to protect every person they arrest. You see, these KWS officers are trained. These people can even hunt and chase animals. How could they not chase someone who is allegedly going to take a shortcut? Surely. They just let him go like that, and now he can't be traced. We are saddened that the judge did not take all that into consideration. if you read that, and let me say this because we are allowed by law to critique a judgment. We are not attacking the judge, but we are critiquing the judgment. If you look at the evidence that was presented before the judge, there were eyewitnesses who saw affidavits confirming that Brian was in the custody of KWS officers. Now, the judge did not analyze those affidavits. The judge did not analyze that evidence. The least he could have said is that he did not even trust the contents of that affidavit. But he just said, there being no evidence that this person is in the custody, then he will leave the matter to rest. We find that justice has not been done. We are engaging with the petitioners, we are engaging with the family with a view of seeing if this matter can be appealed. But our desire and our request, and the reason why we are giving this presser as Law Society, is because we want the judiciary, we want our judges, our magistrates, to realize that we are not operating under normal times. These abductions, disappearances, arbitrary arrests should not just be handled with kids' gloves. Because if this continues, if this is the precedence that will be setting, then it will mean people will start disappearing and the bar will be too low, such that all an officer will need to come to court and say is that so-and-so is not in our custody. And because he has said that, the judge will down his tools and say that he cannot issue orders of habeas corpus. It is very sad. We are empathizing with the family of Brian. Our prayer that he is safe wherever he is, because no one has explained where he is. We are really praying that he is safe. But if indeed, and if it's the unfortunate thing happens that we are told he's not alive, then the judiciary should know that this blood is really on their hands. Thank you.
Just how soon is this process expected to start of getting justice for Brian? You can just give us a ballpark figure, a day, a week, a month?
Now, the process of getting justice for Brian has already started. The fact that the petition was made, it means it has already been, it's underway. As my colleague said, the family and the petitioners, that is independent medical legal unit, are having meetings to decide on the possible avenues to push this further. The avenues could be by way of a review or by way of an appeal. We are indeed considering the contents of the judgment so that we can, the ruling, so that we can know the best avenue. But within 14 days, if we are going for an appeal, within 14 days, a notice of appeal will have already have been filed. So by the end of this week, it will be clear whether a notice of appeal has been filed, and which will basically mean the issue is being pursued by way of an appeal. Invite the advocate who was actually representing the family to also make his comments.
Okay. Good afternoon, members of the press, members of the public. It's sometimes difficult to have a say after our able chairs have made their statements, but I'm here to make a statement, one as counsel, who represented the family of Brian, as well as the independent medical legal unit, that is IMLU, in court in the petition that was before court. I would really want to agree with counsel who've gone before me that the pronouncement that was made by the court the other day indeed struck too deep into the pursuit for the rule of law in this country. For me, it was a sad day. It's still a sad moment to date that we are still grappling with the whereabouts of Brian Odhiambo. I wish to confirm that the struggle for the rights of that family, the struggle for the rights of Brian Odhiambo is still on. I wish to also confirm that until we know where Brian is, we are not stopping anytime soon. I also wish to confirm that indeed there are meetings that are taking place. We are still working on. I recall I did promise the other day that as soon as the court papers are ready, we would be filing them. And we want to thank you, members of the press, and indeed the Law Society of Kenya, for the pressure that you're putting in this matter. We want to really appreciate, I think on behalf of the family of Brian, we want to appreciate all actors who have been on this course members of the Fourth Estate, the Law Society of Kenya, and for the support, immense as it is, that you've given to the family and indeed to the entire cause for the rule of law in this country. May I also say this, that Brian is not just a statistic. We have indeed received reports of quite a number of missing persons, and these should actually then disturb the mind of even a judge. Lake Nakuru National Park in itself, I would wish to invite the general public to note, and I'm saying this with a heavy heart, that place is a crime scene. Lake Nakuru National Park is a crime scene. Brian is just one. We have very many reports of other missing persons. I can confirm I have 2-3 more reports of missing persons around Lake Nakuru. We'd wish to ask our officers, the KWS officers at Lake Nakuru, and even their colleagues out here. Number one, we are now worried about Brian, and his family is crying out. Tomorrow it could be your kin, it could actually be yourself. I do not know whether those officers would want us to speak for them when their day comes. If we are not so keen on how we handle fellow human beings, then I do not know who will speak for them when we are all gone later on. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate the efforts you're putting in this cause, and I wish to sincerely thank you. When we have an update to give on this cause, we'll surely do. Thank you so much.
The issue of cover-up,
Yes.
Talking about the issue of cover-up, remember the identification, you can also speak about the identification that was done after 5, whether there was something wrong with that, and then there was the issue of cover-up.
Let me say this. Number one, I was actually shocked to note that the judge made a mention in the ruling about an identification parade. You'd recall, those ones of us who are in court, that we had made an application to cross-examine the makers of those affidavits. In the words of the judge, boggles the mind of any rational human being that the judge did not consider it necessary to even take the testimony of those who made affidavits, including affidavits touching on the question of identification. But I would also need to note that we had elaborate responses in the affidavits that were filed in court on that particular question. But again, as it is, you note the ruling is very short, about 2 pages or 3, touches nothing on that, and we would wonder whether the judge didn't see it as necessary to even speak to that. But allow me to say this. Those who will take up the criminal matter, when they are finally instructed, would want to take up an issue with that parade. I may not want to divulge much, but allow me to say this. Number one, a parade was done in the dark. An identification parade was allegedly done, but it was done in the dark. Actually, it was around 5:36 p.m. It went into the night. One would wonder how one would see or identify anyone. Number two, we do not even know who was actually brought to the parade. KWS has so many officers countrywide. Okay? One would not tell who were the officers that were actually brought for purposes of that parade. Although we know they are the custodians of documents, and having said this, they may manufacture something to cover the whole thing. But our view is the entire process was a sham. It was a sham.
Now, the process, investigation process, any update?
Unfortunately, DCI, who are an independent body, have not considered it necessary to still reach out and find out more if there is need. They are perhaps investigating in their offices. Insofar as our clients are concerned and ourselves, the investigations are ongoing in their offices. But out here, the family is still wondering, where are these guys? So even when the judge says let the prosecution process continue, for a fact no one is being prosecuted anywhere. Insofar as we know, on the information I have, no one has taken plea anywhere. Okay? no decision to charge anyone has been made. And so for whatever prosecution process the judge had in mind, perhaps you place it before the judge. He would tell you what he had in mind. He would tell you which prosecution process he had in mind when he says, and that is the instructive paragraph in that ruling, I'll say nothing, let prosecution process take its course. He has a thing or two to tell us about the process. Maybe you place that before the judge.